Welcome back to Grammar Express. In this video, you will learn comparatives and superlatives. A lot of times, we like to compare people. For example, which singer is prettier? Which teacher is nicer? Sometimes we like to compare things, like which restaurant sells the best pizza? Which restaurant has more customers? Yes, in English, we often compare things. When we compare two things or two people, we need to use comparatives. When we compare three or more than three things, we need to use superlatives. Let's first have a quick review of what you've learned before. Bar 1 is taller than bar 3. Bar 3 is taller than bar 2. Bar 1 is shorter than bar 4. Bar 2 is the shortest one of all. Yes, in the first three sentences, you are using comparatives to compare two objects. But in the last sentence, you are using superlative adjective, the shortest, to describe bar 2 is the shortest in the group. Bar 2 is the shortest of all. Now, on page 229, you will learn how to make comparatives by using SS. Take a look at the picture on your textbook. Tina is 21. Sam is also 21. We will say, Tina is as old as Sam is, meaning Tina and Sam are at the same age. Because they are the same in terms of age, the meaning is the same if we switch the order. So you could also say Sam is as old as Tina. Besides, you could put the modifier just. Tina is just as old as Sam to mean exactly the same. Next, let's take a look at Ted and Sam. Ted is 20, Sam is 21. Since they are not the same age, you will say, Ted is not as old as Sam, to show negative. And because Ted is 1 year old younger than Sam, there is a small difference between them. So you could say, Ted is almost as old as Sam, or Ted is not quite as old as Sam. Not quite. We use not quite to mean there's a small difference. But here, because Tina is 21 and Amy is 5, Amy is a lot younger than Tina. So we could say Amy is not as old as Tina, or Amy is not nearly as old as Tina. Not nearly. We use not nearly to show there's a big difference between their ages. Now let's practice. Please make comparisons by using SS. Yes, your answer to the question is the boots are as large as the shoes. Next. Well done. Your answer to this question is Jan is not as old as Emma. Terrific! Now let's do our homework.
Chapter 9. Comparisons. Exercise 4, page 231. Example. You will hear, Brigitte isn't as old as Laura. You will write, isn't as old as. 1.
Laura is as old as Tanya.
2.
Sylvia isn't as old as Laura.
3.
Sylvia and Brigitte aren't as old as Tanya.
4.
Brigitte isn't quite as old as Sylvia.
5.
Brigitte is almost as old as Sylvia.
Page 233. Let's take a look at more examples. A feather is lighter than a brick. Horses are more beautiful than trucks. Here, please notice that a comparative is followed by than. And we form comparative adjectives by adding er or more. The purple box is the longest of all the boxes. Ed is the most generous student in his class. Here, we know that superlatives begin with the, and we form superlative adjectives by adding est or most. Now let's do some exercises. Page 235. So we have some rules when it comes to the forms of adjectives. When an adjective is one syllable, we add er and est to adjectives. For example, old, older, the oldest. Wise, wiser, the wisest. What about with longer adjectives? Okay, adjectives that are two syllables or more. So for example, we have the word famous. Famous. This is two syllables. Famous, more famous, the most famous. Pleasant. Pleasant. Pleasant, that's also two syllables. Pleasant, more pleasant, the most pleasant. So when we have longer words that are more than one syllable, we use more or the most when we want to compare. However, Some two-syllable adjectives use either er, est, or more, most. Here are some examples. Clever, cleverer, the cleverest. Clever, more clever, the most clever. Gentle, gentler, the gentlest. Gentle, more gentle, the most gentle. Friendly, friendlier, the friendliest. Friendly, more friendly, the most friendly. These adjectives sometimes have er, est endings, and sometimes you can use more or the most. If a two-syllable adjective ends with y, like busy and pretty, we need to change y to I, and then we add er or est. For example, busy, busier, the busiest. Pretty, prettier, the prettiest. Adjectives with 3 or more syllables, they're really long. So we put more or the most in front of the adjectives. For example, important, more important, the most important. Fascinating, more fascinating, the most fascinating. But some comparative adjectives do not have rules. They are irregular. You just have to memorize them. Like good, better, the best. Bad, worse, the worst. Much, many, more, the most. Little, less, the least.